This is Christopher Sernaque, hosting episode 3 of season 1 of the Current Topics in Science podcast. This podcast will address breaking scientific news in light of the origins debate and host interviews with scientists. This podcast is available on the following platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Video recordings of the podcast will be uploaded to YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. If you've ever been feeling under the weather, you might be interested in taking honey. As a matter of fact, when I was not feeling too well, someone gave me Tupelo honey, which is named after the Tupelo gum tree. When bees make honey, they throw in an enzyme called glucose oxidase. Bacteria don't take too well to glucose oxidase because it produces two different compounds called gluconic acid and hydrogen peroxide. Gluconic acid gives honey a pH of less than 4, which is about 1,000 times more acidic than the neutral pH of 7 that most bacteria need to grow. And hydrogen peroxide destroys the cell walls of bacteria, which breaks them apart. Now, while their honey may be good for our well-being, scientists have just taken measures to ensure the health of the bees that make it. Just this week, there was a study published by Science magazine called "Engineered Symbionts Activate Honeybee Immunity and Limit Pathogens." This study reported how honeybees, which are essential pollinators, are threatened by both parasites and pathogens. According to the abstract of the paper, Sean Leonard and his team engineered a symbiotic bee gut bacterium to induce eukaryotic RNA interference in immune responses. End quote. According to Science News, the bacteria can defend honeybees by tricking their enemies into self-destruction. The bacteria, common in bee guts, were engineered to release double-stranded RNA molecules that dial down gene activity in a mite or virus. The pest then sabotages itself by shutting down some of its own vital genes. End quote. This idea is quite an ingenuity and has already been shown to be effective. Leonard and his colleagues decided to go after two major threats to North American honeybees. They were up against a parasitic bee mite and a virus that deforms the wings of bees. According to Science News, the engineered gut microbes help protect the bees. Because the mites were about 70% more likely to die within 10 days when feeding on bees with the booby-trapped gut microbes. And bees dosed with protective bacteria had a 37% chance of a higher survival rate 10 days after exposure to deformed wing virus. End quotes. The brilliancy of these scientists is impressive, and their designs have already proven to be effective. However, in their own right, bees are already an impressive marvel of intelligent design. In fact, according to Professor Lars Chitka from the University of London, in nature, bees have to link hundreds of flowers in a way that minimizes travel distance and then reliably find their way home. Not a trivial feat if you have a brain the size of a pinhead. Indeed, such traveling salesman problems keep supercomputers busy for days. End quote. Furthermore, according to Dr. Jonathan Sarfati, bees are equipped with airspeed gauges, gyroscopes, a compass that detects the polarization of sunlight, UV sensors to track the horizon to measure tilt, and two compound eyes with 7,000 hexagonal or six-sided facets. End quote. Bees are an incredible example of intelligent design and are an important part of our environment. Someday, bees will no longer need to suffer from parasites or pathogens. We too shall rejoice in the day when God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow, nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. Thank you very much for taking the time to learn with us on Current Topics in Science, where scientific discoveries are examined in light of the origins issue. Please share and subscribe to the Current Topics in Science podcast. It is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Thanks again for listening, and remember, the truth saves.